Okay, we're going to review our last lesson called Using Money. And what we're going to look at today is we're going to look at the different fractional values of money and those that we discussed. You do have a poster in the classroom called Money Model, and you should also have the same exact poster in your math journals, which will help you identify the different values of money if you've forgotten and what the relationship is to a dollar. So before we finished our lesson, we added fractions. So we had 1/2 plus 1/4, and what we did is we represented what that value was as money. Okay, so everything was out of 100 because there are 100 100ths make one whole, right? There are 100 pennies in a dollar, one whole dollar. And we did the same exact thing for 3/4 plus 1/2, which actually ended up being more than one whole. As you can see here, it was 125 100ths, which ended up being $1.25. So we're going to continue to do this today, but remember that when we're finding these equivalent fractions, to be able to add these fractions, we need to have unlike denominators. So we're going to be thinking about money. This is a money model to represent. There are many ways to find equivalent fractions. There are an infinite number, okay? You can do, there's a never-ending amount of numbers to find equivalent fractions for, but we're only thinking of money. So that denominator we want to keep in the hundredths to be common, okay? So at this time, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to record the following problems. 1 1/4 plus 1/2, 1/10 plus 1/10, and 1/5 plus 3/10. As you're recording these problems down, I want you to think about what the fractional part of the mixed number, in this case, what the fractional portion equals in terms of a dollar. And then obviously one whole, what does one whole represent when thinking about money? So similarly to what you did in the previous lesson, you're going to be adding these fractions. At this time, I'd like you to pause the video, and when you have solved the first problem, you can press play. Okay, hopefully you solved the video, hopefully you solved the problem, and we're just gonna review what a potential answer could be for you. So in this case, what I have done is I have expressed 1 1/4 as 125 hundredths. Another way to represent this could also be to write 1. Oh, that's a little bit bigger than I needed it to be, okay? Would be to write, let's try that again, 1 25 hundredths. Those are the same exact values, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and erase that though, okay? And 1/2 is represented by 50 100ths, okay? When you add these two together, hopefully you got 175 100ths, which is the same as $1.75, okay? At this time, you can pause the video to solve the next problem. Okay, and just to take it one step further, the previous problem, we have 125 cents or $1.25 and 50 cents, which equals $1.75. Again, this is just another way to represent this exact problem. But going back to the next problem, hopefully you solve this as simply as possible. Now, these are common denominators, so these fractions can be added. You cannot add fractions with unlike denominators without finding an equivalent denominator first. So 1/10 plus 1/10 is 2/10. And my hope is that you simplified that. If you did not, I would like for you to add that to your notes because I do need you to know what 1/5 of a dollar is. And the reason why is because there's going to be times where you get a fraction like 3/5 or 4/5. And I want you to be able to think of 1/5 as being 20 cents. And if you have 4/5, you have 20 cents 4 times, which 20 times 4 would be 80, okay, just as an example. But otherwise, you might just have 2/10 equals 20 hundredths or 20 cents, and that is also just fine. Okay, and the last problem, I'll give you a moment to look at that one. You can pause the video. All right, and hopefully you may have solved this using your schema from the previous problem with a decimal value. So you might have said, oh, well, I know that 1/5 is the same as 20 hundredths or 2/10. So you may have rewritten it as decimals. If you wrote it as fractional values, that is also just fine. You could have written 20 hundredths over 30 hundredths, which is perfectly fine, same thing, okay? And I'm going to express this as a decimal. So I'm hoping that you can just add this as a decimal as well. If you also want to write it as a fraction plus 30 hundredths equals 50 hundredths, that is no problem, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and take this back because now I wanna challenge you. Go ahead and record the following challenge problems. There are 4 challenge problems here. If you could please record those. They're addition and subtraction problems. When you finish this, I would like for you to come and see me so we can go over the correct answers.